You mentioned Pujols, so obviously a terrible start to the year for him. Looked at the end of the year pretty decent. Do you have a good feeling about him for next year, right out of the gate?
Better feeling. I mean, one of the things that was kind of underplayed is he had a procedure at the end of the season too with his elbow that he might not have been 100% last year. So that's something to watch out for too. I don't think we'll ever see vintage Pujols. I think when you look at age and you usually the expectations that come with that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some regression at work. But I also don't think it's going to be as severe as some people think it is too. I think he's an end of the first round sort of player.
All right, elsewhere in the National League, obviously a lot of guys on that Dodgers team that are relatively new over the last 6 months and some over the last few weeks. Who's intriguing you the most about his move to the Dodgers, be it somebody who joined midway last year or this offseason?
I think Zach Greinke definitely benefits from the move there. He gets a good pitcher in the ballpark to pitch in. Pretty good defense. I think that he'll do all right there. I'm intrigued to see what happens with Carl Crawford. I mean, I think people have kind of forgotten about him.
Yeah.
Before he got shut down last year, he's actually starting to play well again. Get a full season, healthy season. He's out of that Boston media complex there. I think he'll get a stable spot in the lineup, and they'll just use him and kind of crank him out there. I don't know if Adrian Gonzalez comes all the way back, but I think Crawford is going to be a value buy this year.
All right, Jeff, what about anybody on the Arizona Diamondbacks? I mean, this is a team to me that's going to be sort of under the radar. We talked about this with one of our earlier guests tonight. The Giants win the World Series, the Dodgers make a run last year and spend all this money, and then you have the Diamondbacks who quietly go and sign Cody Ross, have a decent outfield, may trade for a part or two. Do you think that there's a couple of guys there that are going to surprise some people in terms of fantasy in 2013?
Yeah, I wish I had a chance to hear Barry's segment there about, and especially about Cody Ross, because I had a hard time figuring out what they were doing with that. Only because they traded away Chris Young because they thought they wanted to find more playing time for Gerardo Parra. They still got Upton. That trade never happened. I don't think he's going to get dealt. They still have Jason Kubel. They still have Parra. They still have Adam Eaton, who they were really impressed with, I thought, at the end of last year. I don't know where the playing time is going to come from. I think there's another shoe to drop. I think maybe Kubel gets dealt, which surprised me because I thought he turned in a pretty good year. I think that their pitching is going to be strong. They got so many good young arms. I like to see what Tyler Skaggs can do now that he's going to have a full season. They made a point of not trading him and trading Trevor Bauer instead, so see what that. And then, of course, the shortstop position is really interesting. They traded for Didi Gregorius. Is he going to be able to play right away? Can his bat play at the major league level? By all accounts, his defense is fantastic, and so he's going to get a lot of chances. But there's a lot of moving parts in this team. I'm really intrigued to see what happens because I think they are a bounce-back candidate from what happened last year. I think they underperformed what their expectation, not just their expectation, but their talent level. And I think that they're going to have a strong bounce-back season. And starting with Justin Upton, I think he has a much better year this year.
You mentioned Barry Bloom, who was with us earlier from MLB.com. He was talking about the fact that, he believes that they'll probably end up trading one guy, although the GM for that outfield situation does say that they could start the year that way. But he doesn't. He's not so keen on a couple of their other positions, including third base. So
right.
I think he still thinks San Fran and LA are pretty much the front runners there. All right, let's bounce around here. Elsewhere, obviously, Kevin Youkilis signing a deal with the Yankees, sort of sacrilegious to Boston fans, I'm sure. A lot of money to pay, certainly, but this is a guy who gives it everything. But the problem is, how much is there to give because he's so injury prone? How do you rate this move?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what is everything these days? He's going to get you on base. That's one thing he'll do. He still battles every single at bat. I like that about him. I think his defense isn't very good. I think it might be worse than what A-Rod's was last year, which is hard to believe. I don't know how much of the power comes back either. If you look at his numbers, he's kind of at that age nexus where there's a steady decline. And can he stay fully healthy? He's better than what else was out there on the market, but that's third base. The third base free agent market was pretty grisly this year. And so once A-Rod had that surgery, the news on his surgery, he still hasn't had the surgery yet, which is another story. But they went out and got the best they could. I'm surprised they didn't keep Eric Chavez. Well, I guess he may not have wanted to come back, but I thought a platoon between him and Youkilis would have been a better situation. But they've got Youkilis. Hopefully they can get 140 games out of him. I think that's what or 130 games out of him. When A-Rod comes back, can he even play any defense anymore, or is he going to be stuck at DH? It's a pretty high price to pay for a DH-only guy. So we'll see what happens with that. And the Yankees as a whole, they're in a weird spot right now. They've got 3 left-handed hitting outfielders. I think they're trying to find a little bit of balance, but Cody Ross is off the market. Maybe they'll get Scott Hairston. But they're also trying to save money, too, to get under that cap for 2013. For 2014, if I'm not mistaken, actually. So they're really trying not to spend money or not getting multi-year deals, which means that shuts them out on a lot of the premium players out there.
The Yankees trying to save money.
I know, right? And the Red Sox, too, to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think you're looking at those two teams will probably be the bottom 2 in that division, I think. But anyway, Jeff, how about Nick Swisher? Is that contract overvalued? Did the Indians pay too much to get the former Yankee outfielder?
I think my friend Keith Law got it right. He said, decent contract, but wrong team. That Cleveland has no point. It's going to be, I just didn't say no point, but it's an ill fit for a team that's not going to win this year. Good contract, but they're probably going to have to flip them because I don't think they're going to be a winning team for another couple of years. I like what they did in that big Sin-Chu trade, in so much that they only had 1 year left on his deal. They got Drew Stubbs. They got Trevor Bauer out of that deal. I think that they could be something pretty decent there, but it's going to take some development time, especially in the case of Bauer. I don't know if Swisher is going to turn them into a winning team. I think he turns them from a 65 to 70 win team into a 70 to 75 win team, which doesn't make the playoffs. I mean, granted, they're in a weak division, but I think they're still at best the third best team in the division and probably worse than that.
He is Jeff Erickson. You can check him out on Twitter.com/Jeff_Erickson if you have similar questions for Jeff. You can also check out the website too, Rotowire.com, for all fantasy sports. They're a supplier of content to some of the major sports sites in the world. Jeff, thanks so much. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. And enjoy your Bengals getting ready for the playoffs. When was the last time you looked at Week 17 and said, who cares? I'm ready for the playoffs with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I know, right? A few years ago, they had a decision to play their starters against the Jets, and the Jets on that Sunday night flex game, they ended up really going half measures, and then they got blown out in that game and turned around and lost to the Jets at home the next week. So I think they want to try to avoid that scenario. Marvin Lewis has kind of said last 2 times we've rested our starters, and how did that work out for us? So I wouldn't be surprised if they go harder this week.
All right, Jeff, thanks so much.
Hey, Matthew, thanks a lot.
There you go. That's Jeff Erickson. Game Points here on TSN 690. Final segment of the show for a Christmas night / Boxing Day morning. We're back on Sunday with another live show, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. during Week 17 of the NFL. Other side of the break, our general sports storylines to look forward to in 2013. It'll help us wrap it all up.